There's a ton of buildings surrounding us here in Cranston, Rhode Island.
Yeah, there are. There's a lot of razor wire and high fences, too.
Well, that makes sense. The Rhode Island Department of Corrections prison is on the other side of the road from us.
Right.
There's some large buildings that are currently the Rhode Island Department of Human Services right next to us as well.
Yep, that's true. That used to be the Hospital for the Insane, back when that was the term that they used.
And there's a medical hospital over that way.
Yep.
There's a lot of state service buildings here in this huge complex.
So this whole area is about 1 square mile. It was once the village of Howard in the southern section of Cranston. Now, the state purchased the land back in the mid-1800s to turn it into a prison, almshouse, asylum, and so on.
Okay, got it.
Now, this area was also the land used for the Rhode Island State Burial Grounds. Hospital patients and inmates who had no loved ones to claim them after death were buried here with nothing but a small numbered marker as a record of who lies below. Now, sometimes after a burial, even months or years later, sometimes family would come in and pay to have the body dug up so it could be buried again in a family burial ground someplace else.
Okay, so are we here to find a lost grave?
We are, Ray. We're looking for grave number 599. One such grave that was dug up for reinterment. But grave diggers were shocked to find the head was missing. I'm Jeff Belanger, and welcome to episode 283 of the New England Legends podcast.
And I'm Ray Auger. Thank you for coming along with us as we explore this weird land called New England. We're always on the lookout for strange stories of ghosts, monsters, aliens, roadside oddities, and odd history. If you've got a weird tale to share from your hometown, please reach out to us anytime through our website. You can find a link in the episode description.
Before we investigate the mystery of this headless corpse, we want to take just a minute to tell you about our sponsor, New Herbals.
I mean, look at me.
Yes.
It's getting to be late January, and I'm still on a healthy track.
Well done.
I've dropped some of those holiday pounds, and I'm feeling better all around.
Well, our friends at New Herbals have two great packages to keep you on track to meet your health goals. First, check out their Feel Good package. It includes Wash My Pain Away bath salts, Indian blanket massage oil, Indian blanket balm, and an herbal bath bag. Everything you need to help you relax and de-stress after a long day.
New Herbals also offers their workout package that includes buffalo bone tea to help promote a strong body, Indian blanket balm to soothe those sore muscles, and Wash My Pain Away bath salts to renew after a good workout. Don't quit on those resolutions. Keeping these New Herbal products around will remind you to do the workouts so that you need them after. We're all healthier when we're in motion.
Let New Herbals help support your healthy lifestyle. Check out the New Herbals website to see all the great products, and you get 20% off your order when you use the promo code LEGENDS20 at checkout. Visit newadiherbals.com, N-U-W-A-T-I, herbals with an S.com.
Okay, Jeff, so we're looking for a headless corpse in Cranston, Rhode Island.
We are, and this one's a real head scratcher, right?
Oh, I get it. Head scratcher. Headless corpse.
Okay, right. I didn't even think of that. Sorry about that. So have you heard the term ghoul?
Sure, ghoulies and ghosties and long-leggedy beasties.
Right, that old Scottish prayer is a classic. But what do you think of when I say just the term ghoul?
But I guess I think of something ghostly or maybe a kind of demon-like monster.
Yep, I think that's where most people's mind would go today. But back in the 19th century, the term ghoul referred to grave robbers.
Grave robbers?
Yeah, it used to be a pretty big problem for cemeteries and graveyards. Shady characters would sneak into cemeteries, dig up corpses, rob them of any jewelry or even gold teeth if they had them.
Well, that's awful. I never understood the idea of burying people with expensive jewelry anyway. What's the point of that?
Yeah, I guess we get sentimental sometimes, but you know who else was one of the biggest perpetrators of grave robbing?
Who?
Medical schools and students.
Oh, man. Yeah, I guess that makes sense, though, right? I'm guessing they'd snatch fresh corpses to bring them back to school and dissect them.
That's exactly right. Or the schools would secretly pay ghouls to bring in bodies. The medical schools wouldn't ask too many questions as to where they came from. So what better place to target than a grave at the state burying grounds where inmates and patients of the asylum only get a number if no family claims them after death.
I guess a cemetery like that wouldn't be guarded like other boneyards.
True. Now, right near where we're standing among these old asylum buildings and the prison, were the burying grounds, where something awful was discovered back in 1883. Something that shocked the state and left a gruesome mystery.
Then let's head back to 1883 and try to figure this out. It's the afternoon of November 15th, 1883, here in the Howard section of Cranston, Rhode Island. It's a pretty autumn day, which is a stark contrast to the dark work that lies ahead for the undertaker, a man named Rhode. Rhode has been hired by Mary Wood of Anthony Village in nearby Coventry, Rhode Island, to come to the burial grounds to exhume her brother, grave number 599.
Grave 599 belongs to Caleb R. Brown. Now, Brown was an inmate of Cranston's Hospital for the Insane since June of 1879. He was just 21 years old at the time. Now, Caleb passed away July 2nd of this year when he was just 25 years of age. Now, at the time of his death, there was no family to claim his remains, so he was buried here among hundreds of other inmates who also had nowhere else to go. The marker 599 was placed as his headstone, just a little tiny number. Now, a few months later, Mary Wood petitioned Superintendent Hunt of the asylum to come and collect her brother's remains to be reburied in Crompton, next to the grave of their father who died by suicide 4 years earlier. The superintendent approved, which is pretty standard practice when it comes to these matters.
So Undertaker Rhode and his assistants begin to dig up the grave number 599, the grave of Caleb Brown. They had just barely dug below the surface when their shovels hit something.
Oh, look at that. It looks like a piece of wood.
Oh, yeah. I mean, could that be pieces of the coffin? The men continue digging and find more broken wood. They're careful. It's becoming clear that this now may be a crime scene.
Okay, now they're rolling 2 large stones out of the grave. And those things got to weigh like 40 or 50 pounds each. Okay, now everyone is concerned.
But concerned over some rocks in the ground?
No, concerned because gravediggers don't carry heavy rocks to put on top of a coffin. They just had dirt.
That's a good point.
They're beginning to suspect these rocks may have been brought here to smash open Brown's coffin.
Okay, they're just about down to the coffin now. Yeah, it's definitely been broken open. They're opening what's left of the coffin.
Oh.
Whoa. I don't believe it.
I can't believe that. Oh, my God, look at that.
There's a corpse there, but it has no head.
And he's hardly a corpse. I mean, there's skin draped over a skeleton, but his hands are resting on top of his chest, the way an undertaker would place them before burial. Oh, man. I mean, he couldn't have weighed much when they buried him just 4 months ago.
Jeff, the head is gone.
Right, and then there's that.
Who would crack this casket open just to steal his head?
Now, there's also some clumps of blondish hair mixed in with the dirt. We know Caleb Brown had blonde hair.
No one can tell if the head was surgically removed or forcefully removed.
Superintendent Hunt is appalled by this finding. And suddenly, they start to notice a few of the other graves nearby seem to be sunken down just a little bit. So he orders 3 of them dug up and examined. The graves are opened, but the bodies below are intact. What's left of Caleb Brown is removed a few days later and buried next to his father in Crompton. But his head is never seen again. And that brings us back to today.
Everything we know about this story comes from a November 19th, 1883 Boston Globe article that covered the story.
So the article did speculate as to what may have happened to the head of Caleb Brown, but it's gruesome.
Yeah, it is.
The theory is that some professional body snatchers, or ghouls, had been known to dig down far enough to just expose the top part of a coffin where the head is. Then they crack that part open with nearby rocks or other tools in order to expose just the head and upper body. And then, I almost can't say it.
All right, I'll say it. The ghouls jab a big fish hook up from under the jaw and use a rope to drag the corpse out of the coffin. Often there's breakage. In this case, maybe Brown's head popped off because the skeleton was so frail.
It's just awful. I mean, it's totally gruesome. But the only problem with this theory is that, okay, if these ghouls came to snatch his body because they sell them to medical students or schools, fine. I mean, it's terrible, but I get it. And the head pops off. Okay, problem. But wouldn't they have just tossed the head back, evidence of the crime, throw it back in there and then rebury everything before running for it?
Well, that's a good point. So maybe someone wanted Brown's head or brain only. He was a patient at a psychiatric hospital.
Okay, wait a minute. I've seen this movie, Young Frankenstein, Mel Brooks. Whose brain did I put in my creation, Igor?
Abby normal?
A classic for sure.
Yeah.
So the other thing to consider is that these ghouls must have been after the body, because I can't imagine any of the people buried anywhere around us were interred with anything of value. I mean, no rings, jewelry, no fancy clothes.
Right. So someone was after this kid's body, obviously, and they must have gotten to him pretty soon after he was initially buried in July of 1883, because no one noticed the dirt was disturbed when they first started digging.
Which leaves the mystery of what happened to Caleb Brown's head. Was some mad scientist trying to literally get into the head of a psychiatric patient? And if so, why this one? Or was it some ghouls trying to snatch a body? Things went wrong, and so they quit while they were ahead.
That's awful, Jeff.
I couldn't help myself.
And that brings us to After the Legend, where we dig deeper.
I get it.
Where we dig deeper into this week's story and sometimes veer off course. After the Legend is brought to you by our Patreon patrons. For just $3 per month, the price of a cheap frozen dinner that Jeff and I would, have to split, you get early access to new episodes, plus bonus episodes and content that no one else gets to hear. Plus, you're helping us out with all the costs associated with bringing you a new story each and every week. If you can help, please head over to patreon.com/New England Legends to sign up. I love this story. I almost lost my head with the whole thing.
Come on.
Amazing, right?
So you start going down rabbit holes in research with some of this stuff. So graves do sink. Especially old ones. When you've got old coffins, the wood rots, the body decomposes, and it just naturally sinks. So that would explain that as the caskets rot. So then I started looking up decomposition. So it turns out a person can turn into a skeleton who's not embalmed, by the way. But if you're not embalmed, it can happen in as little as 2 weeks.
Wow.
And as much as like 2 years. Depends on the conditions.
Do you know what the embalming practices were back in 1880?
Well, he probably wasn't embalmed. It was probably expensive, and he's just an unwanted
He was
patient.
in a wooden box. Nobody cared.
Yeah, they're not going to spend any extra money on that. So 2 weeks to 2 years if you're not embalmed, depending on conditions, how dry the climate is and all that other kind of stuff, animals and so on. Now, embalmed bodies, which is where they suck all the blood out of you and replace it with formaldehyde and preserving agents, they can go 5 to 10 years. But then, decomposition still happens.
Yeah.
You're going to basically...
You're not going to look good.
No.
So what's the point?
No.
And no one's going to see you.
It's basically to have a good
peace of mind,
funeral.
I guess.
Good funeral.
Oh, yeah, I suppose. If only they could come up with something less expensive that lasted 3 days. Just make yourself look good for 3 days.
Give you the cheap stuff. Yeah, right.
It's funny. We can de-age Princess Leia, right? But we can't make our corpses look good for a day or two at the end.
How do you feel about open caskets?
They never look how they should.
Oh, they look great. That's what everyone. They look so. No, they don't. No, they've never looked worse. Right. Never ever.
I think it's not a nice way to say goodbye to somebody.
So when I was young, I remember grandparents' funerals. Right, the casket's open, and I'm like, why are we doing this? Like, my memory of grandma was her like making me cookies and smiling. Like, why does that have to now be my final memory?
I can picture my dad, the way he looked, and it was, wasn't pretty. He didn't look good at the end anyway.
Right.
Towards the end, but still, I still had the memories of who he was. And now I have to remember that whole day and seeing standing next to the casket, because you got to do the stupid handshake thing.
I was there. I shook your hand.
2 or 3 hours of that is ridiculous as well.
And so that's
But I'm sorry. I had to do that when I was like 12 or 13. So let's put the 13-year-old who's never seen death before next to his grandparent.
Yeah.
And where he has to stare at him for 3 hours.
Yeah, and shake hands with
God.
people you don't even know.
No.
Who's going to say, everyone's going to say, I'm sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
Which
Who
is
are you?
appropriate.
It is.
Right, of course. But
write me a letter.
So
now just email me. You can text me.
Yeah, tweet it.
Don't call me, but text me.
So funerals, of course, are for the living. No question. They always have been. They're for us to say our goodbyes, to have some formal ending of our relationship with this person.
And sometimes a celebration of life, which we hope. I like, yes.
Yeah, we hope. There'll be an open bar
Yes,
at
me
yours,
too.
right?
I have to write these things down. I always say it. I never write it down.
Right.
The
Like,
songs that I want played.
Yeah. I want the beer tap to come right up through my casket, right? I don't care how you got to work the tubes, right?
And for my other friends, you can make me into a bong if you want.
If that's your thing.
Yeah.
Willie Nelson, roll me up and smoke me when I die, right?
Yeah.
Snoop Dogg was on that song. But anyway, so yeah, that was a sidetrack. We do veer off course.
We do.
But I get some people, I think it's almost old fashioned to want to see the body and say your goodbye. Some people need it and others don't. And so it should almost be like the two versions, like come to the wake between like 1 and 2 for the open casket and 2 and 4 for the closed casket, if that's your bag.
No, you have your funeral home and then a bar directly. Oh, in the funeral home.
If they're smart.
The basement has a bar.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that idea. That's pretty good.
Clever name drinks.
Yeah.
Right?
So when you walk in the front door, they say, which side are you on?
Yeah.
And they're like, we don't want to see the body. Oh, downstairs to the bar. Go ahead.
Go ahead. And and there'll be pictures and videos playing and their favorite music.
Dancing. And
you can
we're veering
get torn up. So anyway, ghouls were, which today when you say ghoul, you just think of like something ghostly.
Think of ghost,
Right.
Yeah.
But back then, huge problem. Now, the idea of donating your body to science is a much more like 1900s, like 20th century sort of thing where people are like understood, hey, these students need to learn. And thousands of people a year donate their bodies still to this day, saying, hey, by all means, if you can learn from me, then it's just meat. I don't care. And I totally respect that.
Just don't laugh at my naked body. That's all I ask.
Right. That's the thing. Anyway, but no, students have to learn. And so back then they took matters into their own hands, or you hired some shady character. Grave robbing was also a thing. I don't think people get buried with jewels the way they used to.
I don't know.
Even 50 years ago, I think it was more like, oh, you got to put grandma's diamond. That was her favorite ring. And I'm like,
oh, give that to me.
Yeah. Give it to someone.
I can sell it.
Anything.
Get use out of it.
Or give it, pass it on in the family. So yeah, bury me with nothing. Put me in a t-shirt and shorts and, or don't cremate me. And then,
yeah, but you know what? In the end, we're all going to be in one place, and Grandma's going to be like, "Where the hell's my ring?
Where's my?
Why did you bury me with my ring?
It was on this finger right here.
Did you bring it with you?
Did you rob me when I died? You horrible ghoul!
Why didn't you leave it in the casket?
Terrible person." Yeah. It was one of those things that funeral practices you forget. Like there's trends. If you look at old funeral art. We've been in enough old cemeteries, like the old New England death heads, the skull and the bones and the angel wings. They're so creepy.
Yeah,
I'm like,
ghoulish.
let's bring that back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And today, like you literally have like screened photographs into the granite. You know, like they can do like pictures of you, in your favorite sports shirt or whatever.
Video will be soon. I mean, they've been talking about that for years, but there'll be video. At some point.
It's all,
and then an AI version of you where you can actually
there.
talk to that person.
Oh, please.
They can answer questions. Oh, it's going to happen.
Oh no,
I think so.
Oh God.
Anyway,
well, that's and so that brings up another question, right? Which delves into like paranormal subjects. If you really can still communicate, is that a good idea? I mean, let's say I had an app.
Yeah.
99 cents. We're not even ripping anybody off. 99 cents, and you can call dead grandma.
Okay.
Is that a good idea?
No, because I think there has to be closure at some point so that you can move on with your life.
Right.
And you don't have to you shouldn't have to go back to see how mom's doing when you're trying to move on and fulfill your life.
Right.
Mom's gone.
Or like someone you loved, right? Like romantically, right? Where you're just like, oh yeah,
you want to move on to someone else.
What if
There's more love out there?
Yeah. What if you're young and you have decades ahead of you and you don't want to just miss this person the rest of your days?
Psychologically, that could really mess with someone.
Yeah, you got to move on.
Yeah,
you got to do it. So this brings up good points, and I get that the point of a funeral is to close the chapter. For us, the living, the dead don't care; they're already gone. Right. They're but that's a part of it. Hey, speaking of a dead man's party, Ray.
Oh, look at that.
That was a good segue.
That was good.
Pretty good.
Well, we're gonna have to play that song.
Boingo Boingo.
Yeah. Right.
Great one. Classic. We have a party coming up.
We do.
And everyone is invited.
February 18th in Milford at the Doubletree.
Milford, Massachusetts.
Milford, Mass. I forget where in New England there is.
There's a Milford in every state, I believe, but Maine.
Really? Okay. Driving through Connecticut, the big joke was when we were going cross country was, oh my gosh, we just did a whole loop and we're back in Milford.
Back in Milford. There's Milfords everywhere. So Milford, Massachusetts.
Yep.
At the Doubletree.
And it's the zombie prom.
The zombie prom. Here's the thing. If you spend more than like $10-20 on your outfit, you messed up.
Yeah. Go to Goodwill or what's the one that's around
Savers.
Savers, that's it. Yeah. And you could spend $20 on a nice suit.
Well,
But don't buy a nice one.
I wouldn't buy a nice one.
Because you want to rip it up.
Yeah.
We're going to have to find some videos and post that. How to destroy your clothes to make a zombie.
This is one of those events where it's easier for the ladies. So you go, and there's all kinds of gowns at these things, and they're awful, which is the point.
Yeah.
Like, you'd be like, I wouldn't be caught dead in that. I'm like, that's the one you get. That is exactly the one to buy. The one you wouldn't be caught dead in. You're like, it's fuchsia. It's awful. I hate the jewels on it. Perfect. Get that one. Don't worry if it's a little big or whatever, or a little small, because you're going to cut it up, and you can let it out that way, or you can bunch it up. It doesn't matter. You cut it. I've burned them. I've worked on a couple of dresses. You burn the edges and blow it out, and then paint. Like brown paint to look like dirt, and red paint to look like blood. Yeah, and you just make a mess of it.
So we've always done them in the winter.
Yes,
I believe.
Because
it's around
Valentine's Day. Yeah.
So I've gone outside and tossed it around the yard, tossed it in the snow, stomped on the clothes, and then maybe throw it in the wash, and then it'll look aged at that point.
So we've done a few of these now, and this is our first one back since COVID.
Yes.
So I remember, I think it was the first one we did.
You did one before me that I just went to.
That's right.
Patriots.
You had.
I had the missing arm. Yeah.
And
all night.
And you'll never do that again, right?
No.
Because it's nice having two arms.
Yes, I committed. And I think I lost my right arm and didn't think, wait a minute, I'm right-handed.
Yeah.
So I had to walk around using my less dominant arm all night.
Right.
But it was fun.
But I remember thinking, like, I bet you never do that again. It was a choice.
This year it's going to be a leg.
Oh, good. So you're just going to stay wherever we leave you.
Yeah.
Just put you in the corner.
Got to tie up. You know how they do that where it's so it's the knee under the knee. So they tie up the leg to your back leg, and no, that won't be comfortable.
Okay.
Anywho,
so come to the Zombie Promise for charity.
Yeah, for Chem for Kids, and Chem for Kids supports one mission, and it's all for incidentals when it comes to childhood cancer, little things here and there that help ease the burden of all the the hospital visits and all that, and treatments.
So tickets are $25, and again, all profits go to this really great cause. It's going to be so fun. We're going to have DJ music.
Yep.
There'll be a bar. There'll be food.
Yep.
There's room specials if you want to stay at the DoubleTree and just not go anywhere. Just stumble upstairs after if you want.
Yeah.
So it's a really great thing. If you go to our website, you can there's a big old banner right on the homepage, and you can click on it to find out about tickets. And they're available at the door too, right?
They will be. We prefer because we have to order the food, so please get your tickets ahead of time.
Like tremendously a lot if you buy ahead of time. So
plus get your rooms. Even if you live locally, get a room for the night, so you don't have to worry about driving home. I'm considering it.
It's the most un-Valentine's Day thing you can do. You can come alone. Yeah. You can bring friends. You can come. You don't have to get dressed up. You can come as a victim.
Yep.
Right.
That's fun too. That's zombie hunter, if you want to be cool like that.
Right. You do you. Right.
Come as Rick from Walking Dead.
Yeah.
You know?
Wear your your gym shorts and your T-shirt if you want. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Or just come support.
Yeah. Come with your friends. It's such a good time. And there'll be people doing makeup too. So if you want some help with your zombie makeup, which by the way, I'm not a makeup artist. It's pretty darn easy to do it yourself as well.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's another thing. It's just dirt and some white makeup and
be a mess.
Green or whatever. Yeah. There's lots of videos online, by the way.
If you want to go the extra mile, they make temporary tattoos that are like brutal gashes and stuff. So you put those on first on your face or neck or whatever, and then just like light makeup to make you look dead. It looks fantastic.
Easy.
Yeah,
easy.
Cost you a couple bucks.
But go to the website and get the links. And it's the 18th. We keep saying Valentine's Day, but it is February the 18th. So it's after Valentine's. But it's a Valentine's celebration of sorts.
And that you don't have to have a sweetheart or not. It doesn't matter.
All right, if you got a strange tale to share, please reach out to us anytime through our website. And we love it when you share these stories on your social media, or you share ours, or you write a review for us on Apple Podcasts. Those little clicks go a long way in helping our audience grow. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast if you don't already, because it's free.
And you can get it wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, we'd like to thank our sponsor, New Audi Herbals. Thank you so much to our Patreon patrons. And our theme music is by John Judd.
Until next time, remember,
the bazaar is closer than you think.